Hey, beautiful people. It's a girl. I'm just stopping in tonight because we actually said that we would. Last Friday was nice. That was good for us to sort of like chop it up and kind of dive into the readings and, just see what the guys had to say about certain things. And during that space, you guys kind of put out there about me coming on here a little bit more often. Even though y'all see that I'm working on my consistency. So I appreciate you guys' faith in me. Hey, Ariona, beautiful. I hope that you're good. This is something new that I'm trying with you guys in this space. I kind of want to sort of, just stop in and check in outside of just doing readings as well, because I feel like God's doing like awesome stuff during this season. And I wanted to just kind of stop into this space and I guess check in with you guys and see how this weight, because that's the best way that I can put it, is like we're being processed. And being in the wait period, it can be a little bit, I don't want to say boring, but it does get a little bit monotonous. It feels like it's kind of repetitive cycles, and it's just observing things as they continue to sort of like loop out of our current existence. So yeah, I just kind of wanted to stop into this space and maybe share some tips or recommendations, I guess, get feedback from you guys maybe on what's going on during this period for you guys. Aries goddess, let me know, Ariana, because you mentioned last time as well, I think it was you who mentioned that you're a Virgo rising as well. Correct me if I'm wrong. Let me know how this Virgo new moon season's sort of been treating you so far, because I feel like it's really been honing in on even the small things. The small things that needs to be really defined. And with Mercury starting to go sort of retrograde, that's what's up. That's what's up. How's the Virgo new moon treating you, beautiful? Because I feel like there's definitely, I've got another Virgo mate as well, and she's kind of really feeling the intensities, I guess, at the minute. And that's her sun sign. So it's I guess processing season for her. It hasn't been treating me the best, but I've had worse periods. So positively, that's kind of how nice way to put it, Ariana. I feel like that's the best way to put it. I feel stronger. That's probably what I've learned about myself during this period, because I feel like a lot of the things that have been playing out, if you will, are things that have been moving for a period of time. These mountains that God's trying to move. I mean, yeah, they're volcanic, some of them. They've erupted during the process of the rupture of God trying to sort of like move them out of the space and move us up during the ascension process. So it's definitely been an interesting time working through some of the smaller details on things as well. What I would say as well, watch out during this season as well. This is definitely a time where we might be impulsively prone towards generating debts for ourselves. It's also a time where debt's also being paid off as well. So if there's anything that you've been pouring into, anyone that you've been sort of giving excessively to, you might sort of find yourself drawing back as well during this period, because it's kind of like time for the pendulum to swing back, if you will, just to kind of balance the dynamics of some of our relationships a little bit better. So there may be seasons or periods, I should say, during this season of isolation, where people do generally tend to withdraw. It can be a little bit triggering. It can be a little bit triggering, but again, it depends on how these people move out of our lives, or how they reveal their absence to us during this period. And it's about what we can do during their absence as well. I think sometimes when God's kind of like taking us through the processing, right? The processing, you know, we kind of want to grow with certain people. We want to grow in certain environments where we feel comfortable. And God's like, I need to take you out of the comfort zone so that you can grow more, so that you can have room to actually grow. Oh, why do you say that, Ariana? Why? I hardly did anything this summer. Okay, got it, understood. So what could you have done? Because I think that those are some of the things that where I guess we're learning a little bit about how we kind of hold ourselves I wouldn't say back, but hold ourselves imposed into certain restrictions. What do you think you could have done differently during this summer? Let's set the intention, let's set the tone, I guess, for but a lot of them were. Okay, it has been that season. It's definitely been that season of vacations becoming a thing again, where that's like normalized. And moving's definitely being a thing. Because God's kind of like putting us on more stable grounds as well. So I definitely get that. What I'd probably say to you in that case, then, well, what are some of the things that you could have done that you enjoy that requires solely your time, energy, and effort, focus, and attention? Those 5 things: time, energy, effort, focus, and attention. What are maybe some of the things that you could have done this summer? Because I feel like my mom doesn't have enough money to go on vacation, but I'm sure you don't have to be rich to go on vacation or to travel. No, you don't. No, you don't. I think it's about finding the right places, I guess. So I'm Jamaican, born and bred. And before I could travel, because obviously I'm here in the UK, before I could travel, what I did take time to do, like before I could travel out of the country, immigration situations and circumstances. I may speak about that someday, actually, because that's been very interesting. That's been an interesting part of my experience. But before I could travel, right, I used to, I guess, scope out the UK. So I'd go to different staycations. That's something that you can do as well. Staycations are cute. I actually have a family staycation booked around about the last week of October. And those things can be nice as well, like go out more. And I was planning on moving during the summer, but I might end up moving this winter. Nothing went as planned. Everything went as planned. Beautiful. Everything went as planned. It doesn't feel like it, because sometimes I've literally found myself in communion with God and I'm like, what's your plan? Because my plan doesn't seem to be moving accordingly to what I'm assuming, you know, would naturally fall into place. So what exactly is your plan? Sometimes like God has us in these like refuge moments, and it's kind of a time for us to actually like be prepared to get ready for potential surprises that may show up for the things that we're sort of trying to manifest, right? Just so that we can handle them. That's how thoughtful of a father, I guess, God is. There's like this tendency to be protective. So even when we think we're ready, even when we're like, I got this, God's like, I can see areas that you might still be growing in that would make it a little bit more stable for you to be able to kind of like jump onto that timeline, because there's like a lot of quantum physics that has to take place as well. So it's definitely always, if it feels like, or if it seems like things aren't necessarily going to plan. Let's see what you said. I wanted to move to a bigger city, go to a university, and be a college athlete. But right now I'm literally going to community college and I can't move right now. And that's cool. Do you know what I mean? Like, sometimes whilst you're in this period where there's like all of these resistances, right? See what it is that God's kind of like working on within you. I think a lot of the times that helps to break down the barriers as well, because God wants those things for you as well. The resistances that you may be facing, a lot of it may be circumstantial, clearly from what you're sort of putting across. And those things are, in some cases, a few factors, right? A lot of our circumstances is built by our lineage's concept of reality. So basically, like how our forefathers and mothers made decisions and how those decisions directly impact us, right? Then another aspect to circumstances that we have are the decisions that we make for ourselves as well. So maybe look at ways that you can also, so if I was kind of like in your position where there's these things that I'm sort of working on, right? And I'm seeing that I'm being held back with the move. I had that situation for like 3 years. So between 2018 to 2021, I had to move back to my mum's. I left my job. I kind of started to work on my own stuff, just to work. I activated, to be completely honest, I activated, and it was hard to really sort of like sit in a room with everyone while spirits are talking to me. So it became awkward being in public places for a little while. And when I did go back out and try to get jobs again, it just didn't work out. I also have a lot of new friends, but I live in a place where a lot of the people are judgmental and closed off and cliquey. Yeah, see, that can be a little bit tricky. That can be a little bit tricky to sort of navigate through. The cliquey thing, I guess it's a case of identifying where you see yourself, because there's like, I'm sure you've probably got so many different facets to yourself, right? And there's probably some people that you like hanging out with, maybe for some aspects of your personality, but in other areas, you guys' personality might grate on each other a little bit. It's like, oh. So in those instances as well, I think, it's about finding or figuring out how to be able to sort of like protect yourself in spaces where there might be like projections, because sometimes those things stick and they have an impact over our reality as well. Let me ask you this, Ariana. What's the, as far as like your lineage and stuff, like, do you guys have a lot of college graduates? The things that you want to do, would you kind of be like the first one in your family to be able to break through certain barriers, just so that I can understand maybe where some of these resistances are up there in the 5D, because it may be a case of like you needing to do some root chakra work. I don't know how well you do with kind of like affirmations and visualizations. That's definitely, and I don't mean like the cliche stuff of like, oh, I am this or I am that. I mean really like setting it in your hard drive. So like in your heart drive, I should say, because that's really our most magical tool for manifesting. And sometimes we say things here, but here doesn't necessarily align with the things that we're saying, and it's already creating the limitations for us. There's so many thoughts that's being fired off. And then here, we may also have resistances where we may not necessarily believe certain things, and we kind of have to move through the tension of those things. And that can be a little bit tricky, because it's in those moments where God is like really the most close to us, because we're like going through these really tight channels. I think I would be the first one in my family. My mum went to community college and military. That's it. She didn't go to graduate school. She's a nurse now. Yeah, that's what's up. So it's nice to see that she kind of like found her own path into the area, I guess, that she was inevitably destined for. I think, what I would do in that dynamic, right? So if I was trying to manifest a situation, because I'm telling you, beautiful, right? I recently, at the top of this year, I manifested myself into a university to study my master's in astrology, right? I don't even have a bachelor's, but my intentions, my magic, my faith works that intensely that the right people are going to be at the right places to be able to get me into the door that I'm trying to get to. So if I was you working through the process of something like that, do you know exactly what college you want to go to? Because you have to like basically like fine tune these little details out there in the 5D. So note down what college you want to go to, take time and spend time in that college, like actually visualize yourself in that space, visualize how people are actually going to be like, you're basically visiting the timeline and kind of mapping it out up there in the 5D and giving yourself the time for it to sort of like ground into 3D. But yeah, like take the time, identify exactly what college you want to go to, what you see yourself doing in the college, how people are responding to you, the kind of friends you have, what the atmosphere is like, how people, you know, how they acknowledge you whilst you're in that space. Like, I have a little sneak peek through your third eye. And I'm thinking of going to Northwestern University and the University of Illinois, Chicago. Okay, okay. See, these are the things. These are the things sometimes that kind of have our blessings hanging. It's not that God doesn't want to give it to us, it's that we're still kind of like positioning ourselves to be able to receive these. So my thing to you is, right, my recommendation, think about the next version of yourself. Like, who do you see yourself being like in the next 3 years? Which of these universities and the environment that these universities provides, which of these are going to be able to nurture and cultivate that version of you to the highest quality? That's what I'd say. That in itself will give you the position. So it will tell you like intuitively what place would actually be the most probable. So it makes it more possible for you to be able to kind of like jump on that timeline very quickly, might I add. Once you make decisions about certain things, things start to move very quickly. So, and there may be a lot of things in your favor. If not Chicago, then probably Denver. I want to experience big city living. Okay, great that you want to experience big city living. So we know that that's an aspect of the situation that's like, it's the focal point. You're kind of like laying down the groundworks. Definitely, 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 like really sit in with yourself and identify like, where do I see myself? Like, where do I really see myself growing? Where can I sort of like lay my roots next? And also, it's important to think about the ley lines of where it is that you're venturing into as well. Why I say that is because obviously these things will impact as well how that desire plays out for you. Because if the ley line is like, the energy, America's the root chakra of the earth. So you guys are like going through a whole bunch right now, whilst we're, I guess, evolving as a collective, right? And it's about really identifying where exactly you can really optimize that version of yourself. Because if you put yourself in a place, right, and it doesn't necessarily suit certain factors, definitely we have to make compromises because these are the things that we're going to be challenged by, right? To sort of expand our horizons and expand our consciousness. So that's all cool. We're okay with compromises. However, it's about finding the place that you're going to be able to really grow into that version of yourself that you're building. You say that you want to sort of be a athlete within the university. Look at the different programs, the different athletic programs that they have for each of the different universities that you're thinking about at the minute, and really see what resonates with you, because that's where you're going to get like a lot of the ringings. So that's where you're going to start to feel the calling towards certain directions. Basically, you'll intuitively be led by understanding what may suit, I guess, the desire that you have to be able to sort of like do college and do the athletic stuff and have it all kind of like fall into place. But the location is definitely important. So you've got to get that figured out first and foremost. And go through the visualizing process and really, really, I can't stress it enough, like really connect your heart to it. Because if your heart is disconnected from it, again, that may cause further delays. And see about like when the programs for each of these different states are going to be sort of starting. So when you could pretty much prepare yourself for the move, and start to kind of like get yourself ready. So start to, I guess, affirm it to yourself. So start to prepare. Get little stuff that you want to be sort of having. I don't know if you're planning to sort of like, well, clearly you're planning to be on campus and stuff, but get little stuff for your space, your room, and just start to, I guess, focus your energy on that next version of yourself. Because a lot of the times what happens when we've got a lot of resistances, it's showing that we're also kind of like falling short in certain areas as well, right? It's like we haven't necessarily done the assignment, but we're expecting like to get the paper graded, but we haven't actually completed the assignment. So yeah, get some of these factors into place, and I promise you it will actually be a lot quicker of a transition than you actually probably realize, because some of these variables haven't been like clearly decided. It kind of it's a lag, because manifesting, it happens kind of like linear here. So it takes a whole process of time, because that's how we experience things, for things to actually ripe, for the fruits to actually ripe. So definitely sit and have a think about the location. Like I said, definitely construct that next version of you. Go out there in the 5D and see like what Ariana, what are we, 2022? So Ariana 2025, what's she doing? Where's she at? What does life look like for her? How's she vibing with people? Like what is her aura like? How does she actually sort of like respond and engage with people? All of these factors, if you can visualize it, because imagination's like one of the most powerful gifts that we do have. That's the first point of conception for a lot of things. Well, I'd say the second point, because technically the first point starts at feeling. But yeah, like move with the feeling. Yeah, move with the feeling. That's where you'll be intuitively led on the location. Find the right program as well for yourself that that you can commit to, and they also have like good educational programs as well that you'd be interested in studying as well. So really sort of like do your research, and you'd be quick to see. Also utilize your guides, definitely. Honestly, like when I want something, like once I've visualized it and I've put it out there and I've decided that I want it, I'm like, right, guys, I've decided that I want it. Can we make that happen, please? And then I leave it. I don't need to sweat it. I don't need to worry about it. I wait. I continue with everything else that I'm doing. I might take some time to feed into it yet again, maybe, and kind of, shape the vision a little bit better, or get a little bit more of an understanding or of an overview of some of the things that I maybe need to get prepared for, like some of the things that I do as well to kind of like affirm where I'm heading to. I definitely talk about the friendship space because that's something that you mentioned as well. Friendships have been a little bit of a concern. It's been a little bit tricky, but I definitely sort of, put a few of those factors into play. Yeah, well, listen, I'm telling you, girl, this is how the like, if you want to quantum jump quickly, like through physics, basically, like if we're going to take science into account, because it's one of the most important variables in manifesting, right? These are some of the layers of manifesting that actually like speeds up the process. It's like a hack. Okay, I'm giving you like all the little cheat codes to be able to kind of like make it happen. But honestly, like literally anything, and I say within reason, because I think that there are certain things that God just doesn't necessarily want for us for his own reasons, I guess. And those things get revealed to us in time, I guess, if it keeps kind of like, surfacing. It's clear. But I think with what you're doing, just keep at it. Keep at it. Get all of these variables into like groundedness. Because right now, like what happens a lot of the times up there, like these things are like they're vibrating, right? They're vibrating, but we're not necessarily vibrating on the same resonance or the same frequency to be able to ground it. And sometimes, my guides will say to me, if I say that I want this thing, my guides will like give me an insight maybe of what's going to come along with the situation. You spoke about moving, for instance. When I was moving, there was resistances with that. And I made a candle. So first and foremost, I did make a candle to kind of like ease through the resistances. And I anointed it and everything like that. But outside of that, I was also told that I would still meet certain resistances, and I had to then accept the challenges. A lot of the time, sometimes we don't want to meet certain resistances. And for that reason, God does choose to protect us from ourselves, because sometimes the decision may be crippling to us on the other side. So really think about some of the compromises that you have to make depending on where you choose to go, and just accept those. The sooner you accept some of the compromises that may come along with the path that you're trying to manifest for yourself, the easier it is to ground, and the more effortless as well it is for you to be able to sort of like stabilize on that timeline. Okay, mama. But that's pretty much it. I think for myself, this Virgo season, and it's definitely a good time for you to sort of like put some of this stuff into effect as well, with it being like Virgo season. You have an opportunity, because the rising side is all about how our projected version of ourselves, so how society sees us, basically. That goes hand in hand. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, it's a good time for you to really be able to do that. And you're planting seeds right now during this season that can easily start to manifest within the next 3 to 6 months. You'll be somewhere completely different with this journey. Do you see what I'm saying? And if you can move on some of these decision-making processes quickly, you'll be surprised to see how quick the timeline actually moves up. Because right now we're definitely like in a place where we're having to look at the smaller details of things as well. Virgo is very meticulous, so we definitely have to learn how to like dot our I's and cross our T's. So this is the season where you get to be able to like do that and really benefit from it as well. So your projected version of yourself, the way that people see you, actually has the opportunity to shift during this season with these types of intentions. Do you have a manifesting journal? Do you write down your intentions? Do you kind of like put them down? Let me ask you that as well, because that's something that helps as well. That's like one of the first ways of bringing it down into 3D, and then it's about execution from there, really, once we write it down. But do you do much writing about the things that you kind of want? And also, do you talk about it a lot? Because that as well helps to speed it up. Not from a place of lack, as in, I want this, more like, oh, when I do this, or I'm going to get this, or I'm on the path towards this. That's what's up. That's what's up. Yeah. So, that's what's up. 100%. I love that. So, like, in going through those types of processes, it definitely sort of helps as well. When you do sort of like speak to people as well, sometimes this might sound cheeky, but it's God's honest truth. The more people that can actually like experience it with you, the quicker it helps to be able to kind of like speed up the process as well, because that's how manifesting sort of like works as well. Like, it's a reality, it's a collective reality experience. So if you're speaking to someone, right, and get their input, ask them, how they feel about it, what do they see, like make sure they're seeing all of these things up there that you're like imagining, and really just ask them to bless it. I can't tell you how many times I've been in situations where I'm talking about certain things, and I don't feel like I'm getting feedback like I want, as far as like, here I am soundboarding, right? As far as these ideas that I'm letting sort of like, come through. And when it gets to those places, I'm like, can you bless that for me? Can you pray on that for me? Can I get some of your energy sprinkled into the pot for me too? Is that okay? Because I mean, if there's anything that you need, I'm perfectly fine to be able to kind of like return the favor and give some of my energy and let God know that I bless that for you. So yeah, that's something that also helps as well. It's like, prayer is a very, very important tool of manifesting as well. I don't know if you pray on some of these things as well. Pray about some of the resistances that you're seeing and experiencing. Pray about some of the strongholds. I would definitely have a conversation with God about the dynamics where we spoke about, earlier, where the pattern of the community college, that's not necessarily your dream, but it's a repetitive, it's a repeating cycle basically of the previous generations, I guess, timeline. Let God know, you're ready to experience your own timeline. You're ready to be able to sort of start your own sort of path. You're committed and dedicated. Like, really have like that pray with him. Because sometimes, I'm telling you, right, the moment that I have certain conversations with God and I'm like, look, I'm actually ready, and I have to highlight the things that I know I'm being held back because of. So that the dynamic is circumstances that are similar to the previous lineage. You also understand that because you want to do a complete shift, because you want to do like the city life experience, let God know you're ready to experience city life Ariona. You're ready to kind of dive into that girl, see how she can grow, experience the different facets of yourself, and let her expand. Like, really have that conversation with God. And yeah, you'll be surprised to see how quick things start to move as well. Like, because what's happening a lot of the times, right? Like, when we speak about like, heaven being manifested on earth, right? Like, a lot of these things, they are in the heavenly realm. So God has, decided some of these things for us, and he's kind of like waiting for us to kind of just give it the green light as well. And then he knows to be able to give it the green light to go ahead as well. It's like, okay, let's execute that scene. She's ready, because he's the overall director of this entire play, right? I mean, you've got your own movie, which is nice, but he's like the overall director of everything, of everyone's movie. So he gets the final say in the final cuts, I guess, of the scenes. So have that conversation, I guess. It's kind of like taking it to the director and being like, okay, as the star of the movie, the executive producer, the executive director as well, because you get to co-direct, because you get to co-create, right? But ultimately, that's the main director. He pays the bills, right? So you take that conversation to him as well, and let it be known, like, some of the things that you feel are holding you back, and let it be known that you're ready to release the shackles of some of those things. And also, like, just asking for guidance as well on how to be able to navigate, because as well, sometimes, right, like, it's like swimming, right? God doesn't want us to go too far out. He definitely wants us to figure out, like, sink or swim, right? And he has all faith in us that we'll swim. But sometimes if we go too far out, we might miss the awareness of his presence, right? As we're swimming and figuring out how to be able to, like, tread water carefully. And when we go too far out and lose sight of him, it then has a direct impact on ourselves. So sometimes we get held back in certain classes as well if God's uncertain that we're still going to be focused on him during the course of what it is that we're sort of attempting to manifest. Because sometimes people, they utilize God as like a manifesting agent, and that's about it. It's like they tap into his source and power sometimes without even giving him any recognition for his work. But it's one of those things where we can really learn how to be able to kind of keep faithful in the process as well. So definitely just keep doing what you're doing, hang in there, and keep moving in the direction that you're moving. I didn't even actually sort of like, I guess, kickstart anything tonight as far as like a show. But we'll see. This is something that I'm trying to do sort of like, I don't know if it's a weekly thing just yet, but we'll kind of see how everything manifests with the situation. But I am gonna love you and leave it there for you, because there isn't really much else that I can sort of like put out there. I think for myself personally, I'm working on some of the finer details as well myself, and understanding what it is that I'm still needing to kind of like work at as far as my assignments. To be able to kind of like be worthy, right? Because sometimes we don't show up for ourselves because we don't necessarily see that value within ourselves, or it may be that there's parts of ourselves that we're not valuing that actually gets us over onto that timeline. So yeah, I think for myself, I'm going to continue to work on me. I'm not sure if I'm going to be doing lives tomorrow. If I am, I'm probably going to be doing it a little bit earlier, but I'll probably decide with the guides later on today and then put out the broadcast. And then I guess if I don't see you guys tomorrow, I will probably see you guys on Saturday. I know I didn't officially start the show tonight properly, but hey, the least I can do is close it out properly. I hope you guys have a super night. I hope that, the Virgo new moon continues to treat you guys well. On that note, I'm going to love you guys and leave it there for you guys. I may see you guys next Thursday or not. We'll see. Sarah, guys.
Things they said to hold her back, they never seem to leave her head and tend to keep her mind at war. All the things I said to hold her back, they keep her locked inside of all the times when she's been hurt before.
And thank you to Ariana, the beautiful Aries goddess, for stopping into the space tonight and just chopping it up. Okay, beautiful. I'll see you when I see you next. Mwah. Ta-ra. God bless, guys.